Okay. So like I said, I wanted to show everybody how you can make use of twisted forms and repeating forms to make continuous patterns or continuous loops, that sort. So I made a few demonstrations. I colored these just so you could see them more clearly, that these are actually made up of individual bodies. So I made a twisted ring form, whatever you want. Um, the next one I made is using those same tools to make like an open loop. Now, granted, this would be a terrible design, although it would be kind of cool as like a bracelet because technically everything would just kind of flop around because none of this is actually making any connections. But it is just the same thing, just that I just showed you with the tightly twisted form. This is just much more loosely based. And then reminding everybody how you can go about using repeating forms, repeating parts to make things that look like they're interlocked or anything like that. Simply by taking one design, repeating it, and then if nothing else, add another one, and it looks even more complex. All I'm doing and what I wanted to just show today is that using very simple tools that we've already learned how to use and making slight tweaks to them and simply essentially making like a copy and paste, copy repeat kind of thing. This looks complex. It is painfully simple. So let me get started with the first one. So the first one's going to be a twisted form. And all of this is using the sweep tool we've tried before and making kind of like a loop-de-loop thing. Now, before we used a very defined sketch to make, or making use of the 3D sketch tool to make up, downs, and such and around. This is actually using the sweep tool with a slight variation on that. And then all I did was make a copy and a copy and just rotate them a couple of degrees so that, or the appropriate amount of degrees so that they look like they're interlocking. They're just nested together. Essentially the same thing with the loose twist one. That is simply a whole bunch of the exact same thing. It is literally just the same loop, twist of a round. Actually, and this is still using a pipe tool. And I just copy and paste and rotate slightly, copy, paste, rotate more, so on and so forth, until I essentially fill up the pattern. That's it. This one unfortunately takes a little more time to do, but you get there. Last one, this lattice ring design is absolutely just a projected sketch onto a loop. So we're just using Sketch and Emboss and simply made an emboss on the outside of a form. Come on in. Copy and paste that a whole bunch of times using circle patterns. And then I just deleted the middle. So you could use forms as a starting point and then just get rid of them. So let me go through how I actually did any of this stuff. So for
Professor,
the first one, let me just collapse some stuff so it's slightly less complex. So for the first one, as I reactivate this, it's using the same kind of tools. So let me start some new components and I'll show you from there. And oops. All right. Hide all that stuff, starting fresh with a new project. Okay, we got our origin plane. Great. I'm going to start all of these with really just the same thing. Like we've done before, I'm just going to create a path. So center circle, right smack in the middle, wherever seems reasonable. 100, sure. Great. All right. Super. Finish sketch. That's it. That's our path. That's what we've been doing so far. Anything else is not really necessary. From there, I'm going to create another sketch, perpendicular. This is exactly what we've been doing so far. I'm going to use project of a form just to copy that line so I get some points on the ends. That's it. All right. Now what I'm going to do is so far we've done like twists and things like that with using revolve by using a solid or rather using an enclosed sketch. In this case, I just want to use a single line. We'll go straight up 5 millimeters, sure, just because that seems reasonable. We'll do the same going downward just so that way I can have two of them if I want. So that's just a simple line, straight up and down. That's it. That's literally it. Now, so far, like I said, we have used sweep to create twists, bends, all that kind, using an enclosed sketch, a closed sketch. But with this, I want to use, well, I want to be lazy. I don't want to make a whole sketch just to copy something. So I'm going to hop over to the surface environment. So this is essentially this exact same tools, only what a surface does, like we learned with using the form tools, it instead of creating a solid object, it creates essentially just a surface that I can then thicken, tweak, whatever have you. But in this case, I'm going to use just that line that I created around my path. So same tool, it's a sweep tool, but in the surface environment. And that will allow me to select just a line, just a sketch line. My path is exactly the same there. You can see it's expressed the exact same way as a unthickened form tool, so form surface. It's colored on the outside, kind of like, or whatever the appearance is, and then like this gold color on the inside. That's it. But with this, I'm going to apply the twist like we were playing with before. Remember, it has to be in increments of 360. All right, cool. Let's bump it up a lot. What about, oops, what about 1080? All right, now we're getting somewhere. Let's do it twice. 2160. All right, now I got a nice twisty pasta noodle. Cool. Now, why did I bother with this? This is the exact same thing that we had to use to create that spiral. I had to create some sort of a body in order to borrow one of the edges. That is it. So with that, I'm now going to use the pipe tool on whichever edge, doesn't matter if it's a top or bottom. Select there, let's add some diameter. And now you can see what I'm creating there. It's exactly the same thing we created before, but I'm using the pipe tool on that edge. Now, for the purpose of this, I made those lines specifically 5 millimeters across. So let's use a 5 millimeter pipe. Hit OK. All right, cool. Let me hide that surface twist that I made. There we go, twisty line. Really, really straightforward. I can make a copy of this now. Let's use the move tool, create copy. I don't know why it keeps defaulting the center point way over here. I want to just rotate it around that axis. Set pivot right in the center. Check pivot, good. And now let's just rotate it a bit, like 30 degrees, 25, whatever. Instantly start to create a much more complex shape. With that pipe tool, I could also have changed it to, let's say instead of 5 millimeter, let's change that to 10, so it's the whole width of the whole line there. All right. Now my copy and paste and rotated one, now because they're the whole size of that, now they look like they're just intertwining links. That's it. That is absolutely it. It's just using the same twist on a sweep tool, only I'm making it with a surface rather than with a solid. So I'll save that. Twist pipe. Cool. All right. We hide those, unhide the original ones that I was playing with there. I'm using the exact same stuff. Sketch the path, all of that. Only this time, let's do it with the pipe tool. And let me just create a new component so I'm keeping things a little more organized. Loose loop. Still can access that because it's just outside of there. Cool. All right. That's just using the pipe tool, grabbing that. And instead of making it quite as large, let's say like 3 or something. All right, cool. Now I just got to deal with the tedious part of copy, paste, and move. So open that, body one. Let's move it or copy, paste. Again, I don't know why it keeps defaulting to the center there, or not defaulting to the center. All right, so let's just keep twisting this. So what was that? 15 degrees? Cool. Right click to do it again. Copy the body. Why it's doing this? Yep, set pivot, super. Come on, you pain in the ass. And I'm just going to keep making copies to twist, and away you go. Let's try copy paste. Still does the same thing. It throws the pivot way out here for whatever reason. I'm sure that now that there's an update, that means that they also created a new bug. All right, there we go. So all I'm doing is just, I wasn't picking any specific size because of like a ratio or anything like that, of like the diameter of the pipe or how far to twist it. It was just more of, okay, well, it's this many. Let's rotate it some and kind of just split the difference. So now it's just a loose loop. And just so you can see it more clearly, um, I'll just throw some appearances on this. Do primary colors. Okay, I know green is a secondary. Yes, yes, yes. We're in art school and I forgot some things. Happens to some of us. Okay, cool. I've made the Olympic ring. Anyway, so that is just the exact same tool, still using the sweep tool, only instead of having to create the path manually, I'm just using the sweep on a surface tool rather than having to create a full solid. That's it. Cool. So the last one I want to show you, let me hide all of that, reactivate the whole to do, is that lattice design. All right. For that, I won't need the twist that I made. Let me just make a new one. Cool. New component. Still using all of that. Cool. Using the exact same path. With this one, I'm just going to use the pipe tool to generate a shape. Still using that exact same path. I'm going to change it to square and just make it bigger. That's all. I'm just making it large enough to build out a surface. Okay, cool. Now back to what we've been doing. Sure, let's throw out a construction plane straight out front. Doesn't matter how far. Cool. Start a sketch on that plane. And I'm going to project to borrow the surface geometry of this. We'll use the whole body. Cool, whatever. Now, the trick to creating a repeating pattern is keep it really simple, and then just try something out. So in this case, I don't know. Let's just use right in the middle. I'll use a triangle. Or sorry, that is not a triangle. Yeah, look, we're all tired here. All right. I don't know. 18. That's a rectangle this time. I can remember what this time I'm remembering shapes. And I'm just going to rotate that a little bit. So sketch tool. Nope, I want to rotate it from the center. Oof, man, it is jumpy today. And I don't know. Let's try 20 degrees. All right. And I don't know. Let's just playing around, draw a circle around that. And I'm just going to draw that out to the point. Only reason there is because you can see that it captures that little arc in there. So cool. All right. And then I'm going to make that something with dimension 2. So we'll use the offset tool and we'll go like -1, just so it goes inward. That's it. Okay. And heck, if you want, you could throw something else in there. But all right, cool. We'll just use that for now and see where it gets us. All right, finish sketch. And we've done this several times before, but now I'm just going to use that sketch to emboss onto the surface there. So my sketch profiles is that circle. I got to go through and select all the things because I didn't trim anything out. Make sure I also get that little chunk there. Great. Back to the toolbox was my face that I'm trying to emboss on that rectangle. Okay, cool. Or square, square circle, whatever. Cylinder even. All right, cool. I've made a no sign. Great. Whatever. I'm going to now go to create pattern, circle pattern, features, that thing. If it'll let me select it properly. Nope, not what I was trying to select. Fusion is getting extra jumpy today. There we go. All right, so I'm just selecting that feature around the axis, z-axis, and just going to make a bunch. So I don't know how many seems right. Let's just keep adding them until they start to overlap. So you can make it just not connected, or I could keep going until they actually overlap some. Where am I at? 23? I don't know. Let's bump it up to 24. 5. Honestly, putting that how I did before, making that X so they would kind of interlink both ways works better. But all right, cool. Let's just use this as an example. Okay, cool. I've made a whole bunch of the copies of these. Great. But I only want the outside thingy. All right, cool. So technically, we can't just delete this cylinder, but I can extrude the top surface and just drag it down until it becomes a cut, and it just removes all of it. That's it. So now I'm just left with that outer ring. Cool. Now I've made this design. You could use this same feature to create more of like maybe offsets or anything like that, but combine these tools and you can create a lot more complexity with very simple situations. Heck, I could even take this same thing and like I was saying before, all right, I have this whole body. Let's copy and paste it. Again, it does that. I don't know why it keeps insisting on throwing the center point elsewhere. And let's just make a copy and rotate it a little bit. All right. I don't like the pattern, but all right. That instantly creates a much more complex thing. Heck, I could even use that same thing and expand it and keep doing it. I don't know. Let's drag it upwards and just continue going. Anything like that. You could make any variety of any shapes simply by using tools like this, which is just using the exact same things we've been doing and just basically using like copy paste and just make extras. Make a very simple shape that repeats itself simply by going around in a circle or a loose circle, whatever, and then just make a bunch of copies and you instantly have far more complexity. So hopefully this helps gives you some ideas. Yes,
Uh, is it possible to like flip the design when you do the copy? Like so
absolutely.
that's a true mirror.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is, can I flip this design instead of just repeating it exactly as it is? Yeah, totally. So let's take that body and technically I could even do a mirror on that. Where's my mirror? I'm not seeing. Oh, there you are. So technically I could then select just like one of the perpendicular planes. And now it hasn't changed anything. I'll just leave it as new body. So it
Oh,
hasn't changed anything. Only now it is. Where's my second mirror? Should have created two separate bodies. Weird. Oh, it's just slightly hidden. That's all. So that's all. So yeah, you could totally make the mirror of it, or you could, if you copy and paste it, you could also just rotate it, flip it upside down. Same deal.
that is what I was thinking.
Yep. Or if this is what you really want out of it, you could also have just gone back in and altered the sketch itself, and like with this, made that little make this rectangle, make a copy, rotate it so it's the same as both sides. So it's up to you. But ultimately, I just wanted to show you a bunch of different ways. Apparently, you can make an X-Men circle and yeah, make a whole bunch of different variations with simple copies. Yes.
So for my second ring, I just made a whole I made a
Oh,
20 little gems. Now I have 39 bodies. Can I make that like one?
yeah. Let's check that in a second. Okay. So different question, different thing. So yeah, using these tools, make copies, make repeating parts, and you could get quite a bit ways with that. So hopefully that gives you some extra ideas.